Hi, I'm Dr. Gupta and welcome to Wellness in the Lowcountry. I'm the Medical Director for Fast Fit Body Sculpting and I'm also President of Hilton Head Concierge Physicians. Our goal today, get your pen and paper out. We're going to go education hardcore. Today we're going to talk about all the different weight loss and fat loss options. And this is going to be just an informational everything A to Z, so in one sitting, in one place, you can find out everything that perhaps you've wondered about or want to know, or someone that you know has talked about, asked about, or wondered about. Now, we're going to break this up into a few different sort of segments, if you will. We're going to first talk about surgical options, all right? Then, after the surgical, we're going to talk about a slew, and the ever-growing, it seems, non-surgical options. So with that said, let's jump right in. We're going to start off, and I want to talk briefly about weight loss versus fat loss. You'll hear people make this distinction, and sometimes or oftentimes it's a very subtle distinction, but the importance of it is actually very, very important. So what is weight loss? What does weight loss mean? Well, what's our body weight made of? We have bones, muscle, water, fat. This is what makes up our body weight. We have organs, but our organ weight doesn't really fluctuate as adults. So when we talk about weight loss, we're talking about, okay, where am I going to lose that weight from? Well, it's going to come from bone, muscle, water, or fat. This is the distinction of weight loss versus fat loss. Now, one would argue that you don't really want to lose bone, you don't really want to lose muscle, you don't want to lose water, and this is why it becomes important when you're considering a weight loss versus a fat loss option. From a surgical standpoint, we have both. We have weight loss options and fat loss options. So what are the surgical weight loss options? We'll talk about weight loss first, okay? So historically, one of the first procedures that was out there was gastric bypass. You may also hear this referred to as Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. That's the official, the technical name. What does this mean? Now, I don't want this to be coming from me. This is, I don't know everything, you don't know everything. No, none of us knows everything. So we utilize the resources that we have available to us, okay? And one of the resources that I'm going to use today is UCLA, a very well-respected institution. From their Department of Surgery, they actually have great informational pieces there that explain the surgery. I'm going to use that just to give you a little bit of information and some background. So, I'm going to pull my computer out here. This is what UCLA says about gastric bypass surgery. So it says it's a type of bariatric or weight loss surgery, and what happens during this surgery is you're going to utilize a surgical procedure to actually limit the stomach and the intestines. So what's the goal here? Bariatric surgery, or gastric bypass surgery being one example of that, is really for folks who are morbidly obese, where this is a physical way to force folks to reduce their intake, to reduce the amount of calories that can be held. So what this does is you go in, and I'm going to show you a graphic of this here momentarily. What you do is you go in and you actually staple off or limit a portion of the stomach, creating a new smaller stomach pouch, and then you bypass the entire first part of our small intestines, which is called the duodenum, and they reattach the second part of the small intestines to the stomach. Sounds like a lot, sounds complicated, but I'll show you a graphic that's going to make that very easy to understand. Now, here are some of the issues with that. The vast majority of our absorption, where we take in our nutrients, our vitamins, our minerals, etc., takes place in the stomach and in the small intestines. So here's what UCLA says about this. So the way they describe it is you're going to make a small stomach pouch about the size of an egg. Now let me just give you some perspective on this. Typically, the average adult human stomach holds about 40 ounces of content. When you create this small stomach pouch, you're going to reduce that to about a 2-ounce pouch. It's going to allow you to eat about 2 tablespoons at a sitting. It's a drastic reduction, a drastic change, and it has a lot of consequences from a nutrient and malabsorption standpoint, and they discuss that fully as part of the limitations and complications. So what we talk about with this, and let's go to this video here. You're going to see this video up on your screen, and what we're looking at is Here's an image of the stomach with its intestines. Now this tube that you can see coming down from the top, that's your esophagus. And what they're showing here is food coming in from the esophagus entering into the stomach. And what you're going to see is, as they open this up, you see the contents holding typically, again, about 40 ounces of stomach contents. This is now where our gastric acids, our enzymes that help with digestion are all breaking these things down and then helping it move. Now you see it moving in through the first part of the small intestines, that duodenum. All right. Now what happens with surgery? Here's what you're seeing now, the rest of the intestines, where the duodenum being that first part, the jejunum being that second part of the intestines. What happens from a surgical standpoint is instead of that stomach, the stomach is divided into two different sections, creating what's actually a small stomach pouch, and you divide the intestines, a jejunum. Now you create a new connection between that stomach pouch and the jejunum. Here is a graphic showing exactly what happens. Now you can see they're creating this small stomach pouch, and this is a huge change of the amount of stomach that once was 40 ounces of contents to 2 ounces. This is literally about the size of an egg, is what your new stomach pouch will be. And this is showing now dividing off, closing off the duodenum entirely, attaching the jejunum is going to get directly attached to that new stomach pouch. You're going to see that right here. This is your new gastric system. It bypasses almost all of the stomach and the duodenum. Again, the problem with this is where nutritional absorption takes place. Yes, you will get fewer calories because of this, but you are also going to get less vitamins, minerals, nutrition. All right, let's break away from this video and come back to what they say. And I'm going to read for you right off of their website here. What can you expect after? Well, it says for the first month, you'll only be able to handle small amounts of soft food and liquids. What this means is for the first 5 weeks, you're doing liquids for the first couple weeks, small amounts, about 2 tablespoons at a time, of soft foods afterwards. It's not until after 5 weeks that you can begin to even introduce real food back into the diet. The body was intended to have real food. So from a nutritional standpoint, you can ask any surgeon, you don't want to have surgery unless you absolutely need it. This is before we go into all the other elements such as surgical complications, the time lost from work, etc. Now that's gastric bypass. Let's take a look at this video now on gastric sleeve. Gastric bypass, very invasive, longer recovery, and it had a higher complication rate. So this is where gastric sleeve evolved. Let's take a look at this video. What you're going to see here with the gastric sleeve video is you see the same kind of cartoon. Now with this, you're not being cut wide open. It's done laparoscopically with 5 different incision points where they insert 5 different things into you so that they can work on the stomach. And as we look at this video, what you're going to see happening here is rather than creating just that egg size 2-ounce pouch, you're going to have more of a tube. This is actually in real life about the size of a banana. So you're going to see on this video esophagus coming into the stomach as we saw previously for the normal. And what you're going to see here now is the outside part of the stomach is actually stapled off and removed. And just as previous, you're going to end up with a much smaller portion of stomach that's left, about the size of a banana. Now, instead of going from 40 ounces to 2 ounces as we talked about before, we're going to go from 40-ounce stomach content to about 8 to 10 ounces. It's a little less drastic than gastric bypass, which is why it has become more common in the US and worldwide, but we still end up bypassing here the essential parts of absorption for nutrients. When you have, let's break away from the video now. When you have decreased absorption of nutrients. Part of what happens with these surgical alternatives is for the rest of your life, you have to take vitamins, minerals, supplements to include, otherwise you'll end up with deficiencies of at least iron, calcium, B12, and folate. For life, you're going to be on nutrient supplements. Now, the body likes nutrition from real food far more than it likes nutrition from supplements. So we really need to weigh out these risks and benefits as we start thinking about, okay, do I really want to go for surgical procedures? There's another surgical procedure out there commonly called lap banding or laparoscopic band procedure. This is really fallen by the wayside, again, because of technical problems and high complication rates. Surgery is not easy on the body. So at least we're educated. We know what options are there. Let's go to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the non-surgical options.